welcome. This is Tea for Two, the PCW podcast. My name is Marcy Ryan, and this podcast is where we get to know people in our community and hear stories of transformation. This is a new podcast for this community, and so why are we doing this? We are trying to build community and hear one another's stories and really remember that we are called to love our neighbor, and we can love our neighbor when we know our neighbor. And we're trying to bring people together because we believe that everyone's story matters. And so, of course, what good time to have some tea as well together. And today we have Paul Sanner, who is going to be our interviewee for today. Now, Paul is a co-host, if you will, of this new endeavor of podcasting.
Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you, Paul. And we thought that it would be appropriate before we expand and go into the community, also just recognizing that Paul and I have stories as well. And so we were going to, I was interviewed before, and now it's Paul's turn. Paul's up to the bat. So first and foremost, before we get into some interviews, what kind of tea are you drinking, if you are drinking tea? And is there a mug that is special or significant for you that you're drinking out of?
I am drinking probably my usual Irish breakfast tea. And the mug, it's hard to see, but it's like faded music notes. And I'm a musician, so I enjoy drinking out of it. Now I know it's not really dishwasher safe, though.
Okay. Very appropriate for who you are and sort of what you're about, music. I am drinking I'm drinking a lemon tea, and it has a church, the St. Thomas Reformed Church. I led a mission trip to St. Thomas once, and this was our hospitality gift. This was like a part of the welcome basket when we got there. So yes, mission trips can happen in really exotic places sometimes. It can be really delightful. So we're here with Paul, and many of you know who Paul Sanner is on Sunday mornings. He is our PCW music director, and he tends to lead worship over in the sanctuary, but he also oversees the choir. And Paul, we're just so grateful to get to know you a little bit more. And I personally know some stories from you and consider you good colleague, good friend. And so excited to hear more from you today.
I'm happy to be here. I hope I don't let you down. Good stories.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I guess just to get the ball rolling on this, how did you come to find your calling to be a music director, and what does that look like for you?
Well, I kind of slowly, I guess, suppose, crept into this. I guess I wouldn't have said it was when I first started playing in church, and I wouldn't have called this a calling. So that kind of happened along the way. But I mean, I took music lessons and was very involved in music growing up. My father's actually a retired pastor. He was not retired when we were growing up. So at some point where he was, they needed an organist. It was my senior in high school. So I said, sure. I guess I'd subbed a couple times. And so I started doing that. That was lovely to have a little paycheck as a senior in high school. Never have to ask for movie money or anything. And then in college, I thought I would be a good person and try to go to church. Wasn't working anywhere. And I didn't, since I'd been used to being active in worship, it was actually pretty weird just sitting in a pew. So so I didn't go to church for a couple of years. And then I was at conservatory, so lots of churches hired conservatory musicians around. I went to Oberlin. So then I started playing again. in college the last couple of years, and when I got out, um, and at that point it was probably more of a vocation, avocation kind of thing. You got to figure out what you're doing and pay rent and things. At at some point, I thought I was not going to be a musician actually, because I thought I don't really know what I want to do. And in that time, I moved to New York. This is a long story. Um, I started playing music again. I was really, I hadn't done much of anything, and I was at a dinner. Someone had a cello, which I used to play, and I just, can I play your cello? Sure. I picked it up and could play, and I was like, that feels really good. I need to find a place to play, just practice. So I did that. And then a couple years later, my dad's like, we need somebody at the church I'm in now, which at that point was in New Jersey instead of Massachusetts. And and it was different because I had not been playing, and I was just a different feeling. Um, I started studying organ again, and practicing was very different. In college, I'd be like, set my alarm, don't leave the practice room until you've been there for at least 90 minutes. And then I was like, set your alarm so you'll stop practicing so you'll go home and get some sleep. It was really a paradigm shift. And playing at my dad's church was nice, and that was also very cathartic for his and my relationship. I saw him every weekend as an adult, and the weekends were go out there. He gave me the hymns. I played at church, practiced, went to his house with. He was currently at that time married still to his second wife, but we'd have dinner, chat, church the next day, and then train back to the city. And but so it was a very cathartic time, and I want to get a church job that's closer to me. And just after I started, I auditioned and got the job at Second Presbyterian Church in Manhattan, and the pastor came down and was like, I believe that churches do better. I've read that if there's more than one person titled minister on the masthead. There's a small solo pastor church. Do you mind if we call you Minister Music? And who am I to argue? And I said, sure. But that was kind of a trigger moment. It's like, okay, well, that means I have a ministry. And so then I started living into that. So that's how I became called to doing what I was doing. And what does that mean? To be a church music leader is centered around worship. Worship gathers people. Every week we have a new service, and even if it's 90% the same people, because they've had another week of their lives, they are no longer the same people they were last week. And so every week the space is getting coalesced, and people are coming back together, back in communion. And the things that we do together at the same time, singing, praying, but the common things, those are the things, or some of the things that really help to make this community, anew, to make a new community each week. Might be a lot the same community, but it's new, but it has to be together again. And then from that, so many other parts of church life, or at my last place, I was also teaching. They had a school. So it's the same thing. Every day you have your class, and every time you're teaching, it's new. It's the same, but it's bringing people together, hopefully in a really nice space to be themselves and learn, become who they're called to be. I mean, if you ask me, the thing I want the most is for people to really find who God wants them to be. And there's really nothing else in the world for people to do that, and hopefully church can help.
So if I'm hearing you say, so church, what you hope church to be is a place where people find who God desires, calls them to be.
Yes,
Yeah, that's really
and
beautiful.
it needs to be like a safe place for
Yeah,
people to be able to do that, to just be themselves and be seen as themselves.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that that journey. There's a lot of touch points that a lot of people impacted you in where you came to be today.
Yes.
And so I'm curious then, throughout your story, you talk about, music has been a touch point for you in your faith journey. And so how does music impact your faith?
Um, I think it kind of is my faith in a way. Or I mean, it's the 21st century, so we know a lot of stuff. There's, you read the Bible in the beginning on day one, day two, but many of us accept that there's a lot more science to it. It's not as mysterious, maybe.
Hmm.
I mean, it is and it isn't. Um, but a sunset is profound, right? I mean, you look out at nature and you see a sunset and you like, there are colors in the sunset tonight that only appear in nature. Like no matter how good computers get
Hmm.
at figuring out shades, they will never get that shade.
Hmm.
And so to me, that's God in the universe. Um, and music is that way too. I mean, you hear whatever we compose ourselves, or if I listen to Mozart or Bach or whoever, I have a very broad, I like a huge swath of styles of music.
Hmm.
But when I hear something that's just profoundly beautiful, and it's not accidental. Beauty in the world is not accidental, I don't think.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we might help shepherd something into like the hearing of humans, but like the fact that there's beauty in the world is not from us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. Um, yeah, and I love how music is such a way to connect people. It's a way to really, many people when they are looking for a church to attend, one of the first things they think about is the music. And is this music resounding and connecting and is it beautiful?
Well, it says people talk about all the arts being ways that when words fail, or not fail, but things that are hard to say in words, we can say in different artistic forms
Hmm. Hmm.
and express the human condition differently.
Absolutely. Thank you. I know that in our conversations we've had over the last few years together, something you and I have talked a lot about is this concept of shalom and how important that is for you in the life of the church. And I guess I'm curious, what does shalom mean to you and what's the invitation for others into shalom?
Well, thank you for the advance notice about this question. Um, uh, I think shalom, there's large shalom, like in a group. We think of a group having shalom, and there's um, shalom between human persons. And I think they're related, of course, but shalom, human persons, listen to each other. They listen to each other without thinking about how am I going to respond or how am I going to win? How am I going to refute this? Um, People are interested in each other's stories. Um, there's sort of beginning with acceptance for the other, like not having to, I mean, not having to like go through mental gymnastics to like come to accept another person. Like if, and I'm not saying I'm good at this but like imagine when you meet somebody and you find out 20 things about them and you're just like, okay, hi, let's have dinner, or how can I help you? Um, as opposed to, well, these last four things are weird, to not have to overcome that, um, to just be with the person. Um, and in the world, I don't know, I got down to at some point, like everybody matters and there's always enough to share.
Hmm.
And the always enough to share part is fun. I mean, I remember my kids once, we're like, there's only a quarter of the apple pie left. Who gets it? Like we can all have it. We'll all have a 16th of the pie. There's enough. We can all have a bite, There's always enough.
Mm.
That's shalom, really.
Mm.
There's enough. And people are enough. A person is enough.
Yeah, shalom is one of those Hebrew concepts that has so many nuanced meanings behind it. Um, and so I hear you saying like shalom is about communion and community, but also oneness, wholeness, maybe even like a sense of hospitality and welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I'm gonna shift a little bit from talking about bigger faith calling concepts to more of your family because you have a family
I do have a
and
family.
you have two daughters.
Yes.
And I'm curious right now, for people who may be listening in, what is it like to be a parent right now in the current moment, in the current context of New Jersey in 2024? What is it like to be a parent?
Well, it's great to be a parent. Um, I also have a spouse, so my family includes a spouse, and it is especially great to be a co-parent
Hmm.
and to have all of us to have home. My
Mhm.
family's home, wherever they are, it's home. Um, uh, it's probably technically no different being a parent now than any other time. That's because you're just trying to help them get launched. Um, I I personally now sometimes worry about economics. Um, the thing about like each generation does a little better than the last generation.
Mm.
I guess I worry that we peaked,
Mm.
so they're going to have a harder time when you know they're gonna not, and we're supporting them as well as we can. You know, yeah, it's hard to explain. Yeah, I mean, we're comfortably middle aged. I'm not sure that they will feel as comfortable when they're comfortably middle aged.
Mm.
I worry about that. So, and try to make decisions accordingly. Um, I, but they're like way smarter. I mean, like the math, like they're learning everything sooner
Mm.
and more. I think it's pretty cool.
Mm.
The other night we had family for dinner and they had the kids talked about just tossed off some math concept between each other, like some higher math thing. And I'm just like, holy whatever. Like that's something. I was really proud right then and also mystified, but really proud.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. They're, I would say each generation is learning concepts a little bit earlier than previous
Yes.
generations. So you're probably in awe.
I'm in awe and impressed a lot. I'm just really impressed.
Hmm.
I mean, it's great being a parent. I mean, it's
Yeah,
great. And we're
absolutely.
blessed that they're healthy and um yeah, it's really been we've had a lot of blessings that I
Mhm.
understand that not every family has.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love that you and your family do pretty regularly is go on these wilderness trips or national parks or camping or some sort of like outdoor experience. And um, I think that's really kind of cool that you as a family are doing that together. And so I'm curious, one, why did that start? But then also, what's been a favorite place of yours or of your family's?
Well, we've taken lots of we try to travel every summer. Um, they have not always been outdoor centric trips.
Okay.
Um, but no, we like to travel as a family, make sure we have time just us. And that's, one of the places sort of I learned shalom, I don't know, when we travel, the first we're not always all together during the, like in real life, like meals, we eat a lot of meals together, but not every meal together, and you're not with everybody 24/7. So let's say you're gonna have a 9-day trip. The first 24 hours is like people are going because all of a sudden we're together. But then after and relaxing and coming down from work or whatever. But then after that first bit,
Hmm.
it just settles down and it's beautiful. So that's why we do it, is to have that time, I guess. Not that I've ever thought about it that way.
Hmm.
Um, but we know we've taken road trips to see family but we have been to a number of fun places and outdoor places. The so we've been to a few national parks, been to the Pacific Northwest. Mount St. Helens, not stayed, but Mount St. Helens and the Redwoods. Cave City, Kentucky, the Mammoth Cave. It's pretty cool. Um, we spent time at Acadia, Maine, and the last one we were in Glacier National Park on a guided led camping trip from a wilderness organization. There were 3 families, and we spent I guess 5 days camping
Hmm.
in Glacier National Park. And I had never been in the Rockies. No, so it's really incredibly beautiful. We were talking about sunsets, sunrise. We woke up with a view and
Hmm.
coffee with a view every day. It's pretty special. Um, and then hiking around and swimming, and the water was very, very cold. Glacier-fed lakes, but it's not what we do in New Jersey.
Hmm.
And and then it's just it's nice to be. I mean, for me, most of the things that I fill my time with are pretty localized and hands-on, either at home or at work. So when I go away, I just don't have access to the things that
Hmm.
take time. So it's extremely relaxing. Uh, I couldn't do work if I wanted to.
Yeah,
And so we like these road trips. We've probably taken one somewhere almost every year.
that's awesome. And I know that Maine has, I know that you have connections to Maine. Um, and I'm curious, as someone who also loves Maine, if you were to recommend a place to go in Maine, where would you recommend them going to?
Well, we have spent the most time around Bar Harbor and Ellsworth because I have some family up there.
Mm.
And even growing up, actually, my oldest friend's family had a place up there. So that on a pond um, on the Scudic Peninsula, which is just north of the Acadia Peninsula. It's still
Mm.
Acadia National Park. Um, so that's a great area. Um, I guess I would recommend the Scudic Peninsula. Let's say that. I mean,
Mm.
Acadia. There's part of Acadia is up there, but it's less less crowded. I mean,
Mm.
we've been up there enough and off times when it's not totally crowded, um, but that's one thing I love about Maine. Actually, I've never had the sense of um, I've always felt like there's plenty of space. I've been up there in the winter, and it's like desolately quiet in a good way.
Mm.
But I mean, you really like experience silence
Mm.
outside in the woods in Maine in the winter.
Mm.
It's quiet and calm, and that's really special. So, yeah, if you want to go meditate in the cold, um, the Maine in the winter is pretty good. Um, but no, Scudic's nice. The coast is good, and it's just beautiful. And there's food,
Yeah. Oh,
good
great.
food. There's food
Blueberries,
everywhere.
lobster. Oh yeah. So good. Um, we're gonna transition into some sort of rapid fire, more fun. Not, I mean, all these questions have been fun, right? And
Yes, yes, it was fun.
um, these are a little bit more light. So if you were embodied as a musical instrument, which one would it be?
That's not an easy question. It should be easy for a musician. It would be probably a melody instrument, like a cello or like saxophone or something.
Ooh,
Maybe a
okay.
saxophone because I want to be. Life is about improvisation.
Hmm.
I think. I mean, you're always winging it. There's so many things you don't know, and then all of a sudden some situation exists, and you're supposed to just be able to deal.
Hmm.
And so that's improvisation. And yeah,
I
tenor
love it.
saxophone. I'll go with that.
Oh, so okay, we've gone like it originally was melody instrument, then it was saxophone, now it's tenor saxophone.
Tenor
Very specific.
saxophone.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
What have you been learning lately?
Um, I have been. I don't know. I've been learning how to juggle better, different things,
Hmm, like different tasks
different,
or like actual like you're
different,
actually juggling?
different. Not actually juggling.
Okay.
Um, I'm learning how to juggle different roles in life,
Hmm.
like really slow motion juggling. But like you have your work role and then different things outside in the home or whatever else might be going on, and they all have uh, some things that need to happen that you want to have happen, and you can't do. Everybody only has two hands, you know, and one place to sit at a time or be working. So,
Hmm.
but being able to go from like one stream of work into another, to hop over to another stream of work and sort of see where you need to be, where the most important place you need to be at a given time is, and maybe getting better at
Hmm.
that.
It's good. Good learning. What are your top three favorite movies right now?
Right now, I don't want to answer that question. I used to see every movie. I really used to see almost every movie. I mean, and so can I just toss off a few?
Yeah,
All right. So
absolutely.
So a movie I've seen in the last year that I've actually seen a couple times that I ended up really liking was Crazy Stupid Love. I think that's the name of it with
Yeah.
and that was just really real. That was just fun. I think Cinema Paradiso always comes back to me as a favorite.
Hmm.
I think that's the first movie I ever saw that's like that's a beautiful movie. Like when I left that, I'm like, that was a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Um, and I've always been I mean comedies. I mean Animal House is always right up there.
Yes. That's
So that's
great.
great.
Yeah, that's three.
Bonus movies, I would say the spaghetti westerns.
Oh,
So
classics. Um, what has
I
been
would watch
challenging?
any one of those movies right this second. That's the way to
Okay, that
right this second. I would see any one of those movies.
great. What has been challenging for you lately?
I guess that would go back to the learning thing too. Is that I don't know, challenge necessitates learning, maybe we'd say. So there are a couple of sort of large things happening in life these days,
Hmm.
and that require attention.
Mhm.
Um, so just going back and forth and moving things forward, whatever needs to happen, whether it's at work or some home, some nice stuff, but like figuring out summer vacation, for example. When it gets to be a certain time, like, okay, we have to just get that done. So
Hmm. It's a good challenge.
that's
And
a
that,
good challenge.
yeah. But still a challenge.
Yeah.
You have a dog,
We do have a dog.
and her name is Ethel.
Yes, her name is Ethel.
Why did you name your dog Ethel?
We did not name her Ethel.
Okay.
We did was feel bad, or at least I felt bad enough that everyone went along. Felt bad changing her name. So we adopted her. And yeah, I mean, you figure she was a few weeks, but in dog years, she was like a toddler. So it's like it felt mean. Like,
Hmm.
okay, your name is now something else.
Hmm.
So, and it was kind of fun because she had a litter mate named Lucy, so it was Lucy and Ethel, which a certain generation will appreciate that.
Awesome. I didn't know if it was for Ethel Merman or yeah.
No, Ethel Mertz.
Okay.
Yep. What it was for.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Um, and this is the last one. What has made you smile?
I'm smiling now. This conversation is making me smile.
Hmm.
Um, any number of times at home, I would say. You
Wonderful.
have dinner and somebody will say something fun. We'll have a conversation that's just enjoyable. I'm real happy to say that happens more often than not. So
Hmm.
that makes me smile.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for uh, being in the hot seat today and
Thank you.
sharing a little bit of your story and sharing a little bit more about who you are. Um, and for anyone who's listening, thank you for being here to hear about Paul. And we hope that you will join us again at Tea for Two. Cheers.
Cheers.